following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Yes, we're back again. Good morning. It is Thursday, January 31st, I've just realised it's the last day of January. Woohoo! At long last. Such a drag of a month, isn't it? It's just tedious. Anyway, January is over in, 12 hours, 14 hours? Good, that's good. Anyway, what have we got coming up on the programme today? Earlier this week, we broke the story of objections to a mosque in Balgadi. We've an update for you in just a second. Also, in a few minutes, is vaping an effective way to give up smoking? If you've given up smoking in the past, what way did you do it? I'm going to be talking about vaping because it's been claimed that it is one of the best ways to enable you to quit smoking. Or are you just passing the problem on? You're passing your addiction to cigarettes onto an addiction to something else. I know it's possibly less harmful, but anyway, we'll talk about that in a while. A little bit later on, I can't get no sleep. It's a topic that rarely gets discussed. Today we'll be hearing from people who suffer with insomnia. Now, we've all had sleepless nights. I've had them myself. I'm sure you have as well. Just one of those nights where, I've had nights where I might go to bed early and then end up waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and not being able to go back to sleep. It's not an insomnia. I've had nights where I'm tossing and turning all night, but that's not insomnia. Insomnia is where it's chronic, where nearly every night you don't get to sleep properly. We'll be finding out how it affects people's lives a little bit later on. Here's another discussion we want to have as well on the programme today, and it's a debate that many new parents have. At what age should a baby leave the parents' bedroom and go into their own nursery? Or should they ever be in Mammy and Daddy's room? And how having a baby in your room with you, sleeping in a cot, can affect your own love life. We'll talk about that later on. We have a busy show, as always, between now and midday today. Live from the centre of Dublin, this is 98FM's Dublin Talks. Now, if you were listening to the programme on Tuesday, we had a detailed discussion about objections to a proposed community centre and mosque in the Balgadi area close to Lucan. And we had various different people explaining why they were objecting to it, that the centre won't be inclusive for the community and that it will cause traffic delays and parking issues and everything else. One man that we were in touch with the other day but wasn't available to come on the programme is Dr. Abdul Mujiz, who is one of the people behind this project. And he has sent us a letter which we want to read to you, just as by way of update. Thank you very much for discussing our planning application on your programme. You provided local residents and the community at large an opportunity to discuss our intention to build a community centre and mosque in Lucan. A number of issues and questions raised and discussed are those that have already been considered and addressed while developing the plans for this facility. For example, parking spaces, management of traffic, height of the proposed building, and providing services to the local community. These details are available in the planning application, and we encouraged concerned individuals to check these details. As the Muslim community in Lucan has grown over the years, we see this as a need of the community. We see this as a solution and not a cause of any disruption. We also keenly listen to the points that are based on stereotypical thinking. Almost everyone who has an experience of relocating from one country to another, from one cultural space to another, comes across such questions. Almost everyone who has been a foreigner at any point in his or her life comes across such stereotypical thinking. These questions and comments have become a reality of life, but this is a very disheartening reality. This is the point he's making on that is some of the comments about Muslims and the way they live their life and stuff like that is a very disheartening reality, he says. Ireland is home to a large number of multinational companies. A number of such companies need highly skilled professionals. Sometimes they have to recruit directly from other countries. As I write this email to you, A number of multinational companies are looking for skill sets that are not locally available, and they need professionals with such skills to keep their operations going. Irish universities are actively recruiting students from many countries, including Muslim countries. A visit to any hospital or health service facility gives a clear indication of the contribution of consultants, doctors and nurses from foreign lands, including Muslim countries. We believe that not only there is a genuine need for this facility, referring back to the mosque in Balgadi, presence of such facilities creates a welcoming society and reflect inclusive ambience. So there you go. That's from Dr. Abdul Mujiz, who is from, he's involved in the whole project. And you can also check out an article in today's Herald, our column in the Herald, page 15 in today's Herald, where we address some of the issues surrounding that mosque. Okay, so if some of you won't like the article, but, well, read it and make your own mind up. Okay, so page 15 in today's Herald, my article on, well, it's a weekly column in the Herald, but there is a piece in that about mosques and inclusiveness and all that. Now, next on the programme, are you somebody who vapes? Vaping has become insanely popular over the last couple of years, primarily with people who were smokers who gave up cigarettes and moved on to vaping. And if you are that soldier, I want to talk to you because I want to find out how successful you have been in kicking the smoking habit. Well, the first trial on e-cigarettes has revealed that they are more effective than nicotine gum or patches for people giving up cigarettes. The study was led by Queen Mary University in London and involved almost 900 smokers. It showed that 18% of e-cigarette users were smoke-free after a year, compared to just 9.9% of the participants who were using other nicotine replacement treatments. So, do you use e-cigarettes and have you found them helpful quitting smoking? Irish people, get a load of this, I never realised this, and in fact, anecdotally you see this, Irish people are the third biggest vapers on the planet, according to research. And as I said, walking through town, you'll notice the number of e-cigarette shops have been growing steadily in the last few years. In Ireland, 30% of people who have quit smoking in the past year currently use e-cigarettes. However, e-cigarettes are still not recommended by the HSE. Does the HSE need to change their attitude towards vaping? Do you think we know enough about the long-term effects of e-cigarettes? Well, the research also found that, as well as being more effective in helping smokers quit, e-cigarettes provide some of the behavioural aspects of smoking cigarettes, like bringing your hand to your mouth and all of that. I would love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. If you're somebody who has vaped or is currently vaping, how successful have you been? Has it worked? Or do you think that people who are vaping are still really smoking? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp your opinion to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. I'm joined on the line by Sean Quigley, who is founder of the e-cigarette company based on Dublin's South Anne Street. Sean, welcome to 98FM.
Thank you.
Sean, what made you set up the e-cigarette company?
Well, I was originally a smoker, and I would have been smoking maybe 20, 40 cigarettes.
Sorry, Sean, I'm sorry to cut across you. Your phone line is very muffled. It's kind of difficult to hear you.
Is that any better at all?
A little bit, yeah. Okay, go on anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I was a smoker. We were smoking about 20 to 40 cigarettes a day, and then I came across the electronic cigarettes. And I just decided that's a good idea. And then I just got into selling them from our shop in Dundalk. And from there, we went and we opened up another further 10 shops. So we've been very busy with it.
And it would appear, like I said, 30% of people who have quit smoking in the past year currently use e-cigarettes. And this research today shows that it's actually a more successful way of giving up smoking than gum or patches or whatever. all of the people who come to you for the first time, are they all smokers?
Oh, yes. Most of the people, they are originally would have been smokers. We tend to find with people that they come back again. Often you can get an electronic cigarette and it won't suit you, but if you keep on trying, you will eventually get the one that will suit you. It's like a pair of shoes. It's trying to get one that fits, you know.
Why? Are they not all the same?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay, so what are the differences then?
Well, we would have what's known as a starter, and then we get into what's known as a high-end machine. We have ones that are called RDAs that plume out large amounts of smoke. You might have seen those before. So, yeah, we have a massive wide range of electronic cigarettes, and we have every flavour under the sun. We would have everything from strawberry to tobacco flavours. We even sell aloe vera here. People... It's just about acquiring the right taste, to get the right flavour, to get you off the cigarette. They also have variable voltage, which imitates the hit on the back of the throat of the cigarette. So it's just getting what suits you, you know. And we endeavour to make sure that we get the right device for you.
Now, what do you say? Okay, so obviously there is some research to show that e-cigarettes aren't as unhealthy as regular cigarettes, but a lot of people believe that replacing cigarettes with e-cigarettes, you're just passing one bad habit onto another.
I'll tell you a story. When we started about 5 years ago now, there was a little couple came in from the country and they absolutely reeked of cigarettes. They were both on about 50, 60 a day. Their hands were yellow, the skin was yellow. They were bent over backwards, buckled, incredibly unhealthy people. Came into the shop about 4 months later on, you wouldn't recognise them. They were walking up straight. They bounced into the shop like bunny rabbits. That was enough for me. The day I saw that, they'd lost the cough. They were so much healthier in themselves and so much happier. So that was it. And I said, well, this is a winner. You know, you can't get away from this.
But we need to be aware, though, that there is limited research as to whether or not there might be potential health effects from e-cigarettes.
Well, I can only tell you what I saw with my own two eyes. There's another story there. A little old lady used to come into us in Drogheda, or into the Drogheda shop, and she basically, I said, tell me something. I asked her, why did she take up vaping at nearly 80 years of age? And she just turned around and she says, the doctor says either I give up the cigarettes or I won't be around to smoke one in 3 months, and she's still a customer. So it seems to work for us and it seems to work for our customers. I wouldn't recommend that you start vaping if you didn't already smoke, but if you're a smoker, I highly recommend you get off the cigarettes because they're just downright nasty things, and it's incredible. If you see, you're going to be asking people today about the changes in their health and how they feel about themselves. Obviously, cigarette smoke, it wrecks your face, it cracks you up altogether. You get terrible lines, you're coughing, and you stink. Like anybody, who ever sits in the company of a smoker, and it is a non-smoker, it's just repelling. Whereas with electronic cigarettes, you come away smelling of strawberries and bananas and chocolate. Okay,
but isn't the reality, Sean, that if you give up cigarettes and you move to vaping, the one thing that you are replacing with the vape is nicotine? So you're literally transferring your addiction from one product to another, albeit somewhat healthier. But are you finding then that people are vaping for years on end?
No. What happens here, we have a program. We start you off on a higher dose of nicotine. We start you off at 18 milligrams. Then we move you down to 12. Then we move you down to 6. Then we move you down to 3. And then 0. So you're actually inhaling and you're just, bringing it down to we sell e-liquids here in every flavour with 0 nicotine. So there's absolutely no nicotine in any of these oils.
And why would people continue to do it then?
It's habit. You know the way, like, you know, you put your hand in your mouth as a baby and you suck on your thumb? It's kind of like that. It's a hand reaction. People have always, you know, Irish people in general tend to be quite nervous individuals and they need something. So I believe it's that. It's more habit than anything else. People just don't know what to do with their hands. So smoking got in there and, we replaced it with vaping. So yes, you can get completely off nicotine and then get off it altogether if you persist with it. So like most of our people are right down to 6 milligrams, 3 milligrams. We've seen that. When we started,
by weaning people off the nicotine, you're essentially trying to basically get people to not be a customer anymore. Essentially, are you? Yes, I guess. I suppose. I mean, we have lost so many customers over the years, but we will always find plenty more to find. There's so many people still smoking cigarettes out there. It's incredible, and there's so many people that have tried vaping and they tried it, went back on the cigarettes, and then they come back and they'll try vaping again. It really is. All I can say to people out there is if you've tried vaping before and you've gone back on cigarettes, get back in here. We'll find the right thing for you. It's very possible. The machines have come along so much in the last 5 years, and the range of flavours and textures, it's amazing. Like, we have everything. We pride ourselves here in Dublin on having the best range of flavours in the country. Our shop is fabulous. It's second to none when it comes to, different flavours and strengths. All right, so even if you've tried it before, try it again. You might find it suits you better the next time round. All right, Sean Quigley, founder of the e-cigarette company on South Ann Street. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. And I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Are you a vapor? Has it worked for you? Or do you think people are just fooling themselves? Because realistically, they're still smoking. They're not actually giving it up. They might be giving up actual cigarettes, but they've just transferred onto a different type of cigarette. Here's a WhatsApp voice message that's just come in to us.
I quit cigarettes using Nicorette chewing gums, and it did work for me, and I'm off them now for 5 years.
Okay, there you go. Nicorette chewing gums did it for him. I know, for example, my own grandmother is 97 and she gave up cigarettes about 12 years ago, and she's still chewing gum at 97 years of age. It's hilarious, actually, to see her 97 years of age. But she doesn't smoke, I suppose. And Lisa, sorry, lads, which one am I playing here? Okay, sorry, yeah. Lisa sent us this message.
Hi, Adrian. I was smoking for years and could never quit. And finally, my brother suggested going on to the vape, and I haven't looked back since. Now, I've been off the cigarettes 2 months. It'll be 3 months soon enough. I haven't used the vape in over a month. My urge for smoking is completely gone. I do keep it around for nights out just in case, because I'd be more likely to have a smoke on a night out after a few drinks. But so far so good, and I won't look back.
All right, very good. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. And Richie and Aidan, I'll take your calls in just a moment.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala.
98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Our telephone number is 6797 981. We're talking about vaping and whether or not it worked for you. Should you give it a try? Or, as Richie believes, you're just substituting one bad habit for another.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's all it is. I honestly just think you're smoking. It's the same thing. You're using the same thing with your hand. There's nicotine going into your system still. I mean, I just think it's an absolute, just a sham, to be honest with you.
And are you a smoker?
I'm not. I used to smoke. I gave up 9 years this month.
And how did you give them up?
There's a tablet called Champix.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, and got that prescribed very expensive. Well, expensive enough, but it worked. Absolutely 100% worked. Now, it doesn't work for everyone, I know.
Yeah, no, I tried it myself a couple of years ago and it didn't do anything for me, but I know it does work for some people. But anyway, when you see people vaping, you obviously think they're fooling themselves. They think they're great. They think they're off cigarettes, but they're not really.
Yeah, and I've seen it as well. I've seen people who have vape and then they'll have a cigarette as well.
Oh, well, then you're definitely not off the cigarettes. That's kind of a pointless exercise, really, isn't it?
You know, and you see that, and then you see, like, I've seen, you know, kids, like, 16, 17, walking around with vapes as well, and, you know, that's hardly encouraging, you know, any sort of good health or anything, like.
Well, stay there for 1 second, because, Aidan, you have been on e-cigarettes for 4 years.
That's right, yeah.
Right, so you're still a smoker then?
Yeah, I would say I am, but I haven't touched a cigarette in 4 years, which I think, for me, I feel brilliant, I feel great, I actually feel a lot healthier. I'm doing a lot more things I never done before. I'm not coughing my lungs up. I have money in my pocket for once. I think it's a lot healthier than the cigarette itself.
And is there ever a temptation, because you still have that nicotine, I assume you haven't weaned yourself off the nicotine, have you?
No. Well,
right.
No, I know if I stopped vaping tomorrow, I'd be back smoking cigarettes.
That's exactly the point. So what Richie is saying is you literally substituted one habit for another, and albeit a little bit healthier, you're still smoking.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
But
at the same time, like, you have money, like, you're not paying out, I don't know how much cigarettes are nowadays, but when I stopped, they were nearly over €10 a packet.
No, they're over €12 a packet now.
Oh, God. I mean, you added up over the year. It was never a health thing for me. It was always down to the money. I added up over a year what I was spending, and like I was missing bills just to buy me cigarettes.
No, right, okay.
That's that bad way, like, you know.
Richie, he's saving money and he's a bit healthier. Surely that's a good thing.
Nah, he's just fooling himself. You know, it is. He knows it himself that he's just passed on one habit to another, and it's nearly the exact same thing. It's the exact same action, you know, the hand action. He's still spending money on, you know, the vape and stuff. To be honest with you, it's either all or nothing. You know, you either give them up or not. I know yourself. You know, you've tried yourself in the past.
I have many times, yep.
You know, but the real reason you haven't given up is because, in your own mind, in your own heart and soul, you don't want to, whether it's your wife putting pressure, kids, doctors, etc. To be honest with you, I had the same thing over the years, you know, people pressuring you, know, you need to give them up, blah, blah, blah. And I just got to a point where I just went, you know what, I'm sick to death of it. And that was it.
Yeah, but don't we... okay, so Aidan's on the vape 4 years. He substituted cigarettes for vaping. But isn't it still better that he's not smoking? I mean, and I gave the example of my own grandmother, 97 years of age, and she still chews nicotine chewing gum, but she hasn't smoked a cigarette in 10 years. She'd probably be dead if she had.
Yeah, well, that's just when you were saying it there, when you were on air saying it there, I was laughing, thinking my mother's the exact same thing. She's 70 this year, and she is off them about 7 or 8 years as well, and she has I think it's the nicotine lozenges.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she's still on them, and she'd be chewing them all day or sucking on them all day long. But still, sure, you know, there's still nicotine going into their systems. You know, whether...
I know, but still, it is definitely the lesser of two evils, is it not?
Well...
I know the ideal thing is to be off everything, to be off all type of nicotine, but surely it's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but I don't think there's enough studies on it, to be honest with you. And, you know, as I say, it wasn't kind of a thing when I was smoking and giving them up. It wasn't something that I ever looked into or ever even kind of considered or thought about. And it's not something that I'm kind of, you know, I've looked at or whatever, you know, and researched. But I still don't think that, you know, if you're taking nicotine into your system at all, I know you're saying it is the lesser of two evils, but there's not enough studies shown to say whether, you know, it can cause it. Like, is there going to be in 30 years' time going, oh God, we should never have, you know, they're just as bad as cigarettes. You know, in 30 years, is there going to be research, or is there, you know, going to be some suit, you know what I mean, suing some big American company like they've all done with cigarettes to say...
Well, in fact, the reality of it is that a lot of the cigarette companies are investing in e-cigarettes and e-cigarette companies, which kind of proves the point that there's money to be made on it.
Oh, but sure, there's money to be made. There's money to be made on cigarettes. I mean, as you say, they're whatever, 12, 13 euro a pack, you know, and the cigarette companies are looking into it going, well, sure, how else can we make money? Because some people are quitting, so they're going into this. So we'll just go into this side business where we'll still make money. We might not make as much money, but we'll still make money. You know, it's just been business, basically, for them.
All right, stay there for 1 second. Eamon, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Eamon?
Good morning.
Eamon, you tried vaping, you tried using them, but the best way is cold turkey.
Yeah, because you're only wasting your time vaping, because like that one other chap said, the best way to do it is to give them up altogether. Because you're only putting one habit onto another, you know.
But as we said, surely it's better than actually smoking. You know, for somebody who's addicted to nicotine, you're replacing the nicotine and using a different way of getting your nicotine. That is healthier.
Yeah, but you're only fooling yourself. You're defeating the purpose, because you're going on to one, on to another, you know. You're better off just a lot of willpower, you know, and you give them up.
Okay, that's all it requires. And finally, John, this is something I tried a couple of years ago as well, but it did nothing for me, bar make me laugh. You actually went to a hypnotist.
I did, yeah, about 4 years ago.
And lay on his sofa, and he gave you a talk, and did he record the whole thing for you so that you could listen back to it?
No.
Just
I was in there for about 35, 40 minutes. I walked out of there, I kept a few cigarettes in the box just in case it didn't work.
Yeah.
There was a homeless fella outside, and I gave them to him and me 2 lighters, and never looked back since.
And you literally haven't smoked a cigarette since?
Not since, no.
And was it difficult?
No, not a bother. Like, I used to love having a smoke half-time in a football match in the pub and all, you know. I go outside and I talk with the lads there now even, and they're all smoking, and I stand there.
Oh, no, so it doesn't bother you even to go out to the smoking area?
No. So I still smell it. It's a horrible smell, even now.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so...
All right, vapor, thank you. Vapor is 100 times better than cigarettes. I completely disagree with these men, says Rita. Adrian, I'm 5 years vaping, and it's much more addictive than cigarettes. Fruity flavours and the likes. My vape comes to bed with me. I wake up during the night for it, and never did that on cigarettes. And one more from, actually 2 more. Darren says, in years to come, you will have vaping addicts. There's nicotine in them. Well, we already have vaping addicts, Darren. That's the reality of it. And finally, I smoked 50 a day. My wife smoked 20 a day. We both gave up 5 years ago on the same day. We both vaped. I threw mine away 3 years ago. My wife can't and won't stop vaping. P.S. I also found it hard to give up the e-cig because, well, of course, because you have literally transferred your smoking habit onto a different product. And one final WhatsApp voice message.
Morning, lads. Ken here. I'm off the cigarettes now 5 years. On the 1st of May, I started vaping. Almost over 4 years ago, and it took me approximately a year and a half to come down off the vape by dropping different milligrams, and eventually I just said I was down to 0 on the vape, and I just stopped vaping, and it's great. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for all of your calls. And one last message, Adrian, I think those vapes are a gimmick. I gave up an 80 a day habit using a thing called willpower, says Paul. Easier said than done for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that did quit with pure willpower think they're the best things in sliced bread, but obviously other people don't have that same willpower that you had, Paul. Anyway, thanks very much indeed. Now, Jeremy is here with us in the studio. You're welcome. And something happened to you many years ago that still irks you.
Haunts, Adrian. Haunts is the word.
Haunts you, yeah.
Yeah, and this all came back to me. People have been posting on the website Cora about the horrible tasks that they were made do in previous jobs. So not as much about a horrible job you once had, because we've all had horrible jobs, but horrible tasks that bosses made you do in the past? Now, we've all had jobs. We all had to start out somewhere, and we've all had jobs where we've had to do absolutely manky things. And, you know, when it's your first job or whatever, you can't turn around and say, I'm not doing that. That's disgusting. And I'm sure most of our listeners have these stories, and we want to hear in a moment your story. Some of these stories, by the way, I couldn't even read them out because they're so disgusting of what people were made do. But people have been sharing their stories online of tasks, the worst tasks that they were made do in a previous job. Now, I've two. Right. I was a waiter, as you know, in a previous life, and part of the job of being a waiter in this restaurant that I worked in was that every day one of us had to take turns to clean the toilets at the end of the shift. So in the restaurant, you would, because these were before the days, you know, nowadays in a toilet, there's a little piece of paper on the back and they get checked every hour. Years ago, that didn't happen.
No, that's true.
Literally, you put a piece of toilet roll in the morning and you didn't go near the jacks until the end of the night. So when you would arrive into this restaurant and you'd go into the toilet at 11:30 that night before you closed up, the toilet was absolutely disgusting.
And your job at the end of the night was to clean it?
My job was even worse. My job at the end of the night was to take... Now, ladies wouldn't be aware of this, but in men's toilets, in the urinals, there's a little plastic thing that sits in the urinal. You know those plastic things? It stops you basically splashing yourself. Is that what it's for?
And for, well, they're all... they've chemicals and stuff in now.
Is that what they're for? Yeah. So there are these plastic things at the end of a urinal. And my job... even talking about it now is bringing back memories. My job was to take these plastic things out of the urinals and spray them down with a special spray.
Ew.
Now you can imagine.
I assume you had gloves on and stuff.
That doesn't make any. Gloves didn't make any difference. I could have worn 10 pairs of gloves. Well, no, there was another problem. I'm allergic to latex, so I couldn't wear the gloves. So I had to do it with a tongs. I had to pick them up with a tongs at the time. So there was 4 urinals. I remember there was 4 urinals in the toilet of the restaurant. I'd have to pick each and every one out with a tongs. They were covered in loose hair.
Oh, lovely.
Loose hair and chewing gum, loads of chewing gum, because men like spitting chewing gum in the urinals, and I had to pick them out and spray them down. It was absolutely disgusting. And I actually met that boss that I worked for. I met him a couple of years ago. I was in the nightclub and I bumped into him and I said, you know what? I've had nightmares about you. And he says, well, what did I do to you, Jeremy? You made me clean the plastic things in urinals 20 years ago and I still haven't got over that fact. It was disgusting. What was yours?
It's not half as bad as that. I used to work only for a couple of months because I couldn't stand it in a record shop on O'Connell Street.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was called Super X Records. It was opened around the same time as the Virgin Megastore. Okay. But I used to be given this task of carrying a big, huge box full of LPs.
My heart's breaking for you.
No, listen to it. This weighed a ton.
Okay.
Right?
God love you.
From one shop to their other shop around on Henry Street.
Oh, my God.
In the pissings of rain, in the snow.
No.
But the box was so heavy I couldn't lift it.
Oh, poor Adrian.
And my manager at the time, who I've since met, by the way, and had words with, she actually works in the radio business, believe it or not.
Okay.
And she got great pleasure out of asking me to do it, so would do it regularly. Would ask me to walk around with this big box of albums from this shop to that shop. But the bloody thing weighed a ton.
So just to get it straight, I had to clean dirty urinals.
Yeah, and I had to carry
your job was to carry a heavy box around the corner.
In the lashings of rain.
Are you okay now?
No, I am.
Are you all right? Jesus.
What is the worst task your employer ever set for you? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98.
I don't think anybody can beat my urinal story. There couldn't. What's worse than cleaning a urinal? There couldn't be any job worse than it.
If you can match that, what is the worst job that your boss ever made? Well, a task as opposed to a job. The worst task your boss ever made you do. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
98FM
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala.
98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Our telephone number is 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. What is the worst task a boss of yours ever made you do? And by the way, if you're eating your lunch or your breakfast or just eating, you might want to put the food down because some of the stuff that's coming into us might churn your stomach a little bit. Anyway, what is the worst task a boss of yours ever made you do? Paul, you're on 98FM. How are you, Paul?
Adrian, how's it going, lad?
Good, thanks, Paul. You can beat Jeremy's story of having to clean those.
Hands down.
Yeah, go on.
Jeremy would be it'd be a pleasure to do his job.
Really, cleaning out the plastic bits in the urinal, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, how about changing the toilets on aeroplanes?
Changing the
emptying the tank.
Is that not all done with a pump?
It's done with a pump, but believe you me, and it does happen, if you don't connect those hoses up exactly right, when that comes out under pressure, and it's all in this blue liquid, and you come back in looking like a Smurf.
Ew. So you're telling me, hang on, are you, that's what I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten sprayed with it?
No, you get sprayed with it a lot. But you don't get, if the actual, when you put on the hose, it's like, it looks a bit like a hose you'd see on an oil tanker, but a bit bigger and kind of ribbed.
And it connects to the plane and then sucks it
You'll
all
always
out.
notice at the back of the plane, there's a very small truck, very small, squashy little truck. And that one does the water. That one, this is why I will never drink water on a plane, if it comes out of that little tap.
Oh.
Yeah, the same truck does the toilets and the water. But I have seen, lads, now you have to get every sort of shot under the sun. And then
So
did
you get sprayed by the excrement of an aeroplane?
Well, it would have been more of the urine, I would say, once or twice you get it sprayed. But we're wearing a mask and a suit on top of you. But I have seen lads come in and they basically, when that blue stuff hits you, you look like a Smurf. Exactly like a Smurf.
And come here, just out of curiosity, I assume they do that after every cycle, after every plane?
Usually after, on a short haul flight, they might do it every 2 trips. But
really?
You don't want to, you wouldn't mind that one. It's when you've had something coming into New York, a full flight. And when that hose goes,
stop. Hang on for 1 second, because Lee, you actually answered the exact same thing. You worked at taking the stuff off an airplane as well, did you?
Yeah, same thing as Paul. Yeah, the blue stuff was called Rakazan.
And come here, okay, obviously it's a job that has to be done, but surely it's fairly straightforward. You connect a hose to the plane and just suck it out.
Yeah, but once you pull the 2 levers, like the urine, it starts spraying out like little trickles of it. So you'd have to back the truck up away from the plane to the direction the wind was blowing opposite to, so that whatever was blowing out of it would blow away from you. But some guys were dumped on, like, covered.
Oh, no.
As soon as they opened the flaps.
Oh, no.
Dumped on, hideous.
Oh, that sounds vile.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things when, you know, we all use airplanes, but it's one of those things, you flush the jacks and you never think where it actually... Now, you know it goes into a tank, but you never think any further than that somebody like you has to come along and clean it out.
Yeah, great job.
And so say, for example, a transatlantic plane coming in, how long does it take to actually suck out the stuff?
I would see you have to do the front and back. I mean, it takes a couple of minutes to do, but sometimes, like, you'd have the likes of Monarch or something like that, the older planes, and you couldn't even get the hose on properly.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Thanks, Lee. That's fairly vile. And today, there is somebody doing that exact job in Dublin Airport right now. Reese, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Reese?
Good morning, Adrian.
You can beat Jeremy's urinal story or the lads at the airport sucking out the muck out of the airplane.
Well, not the lads in the airport. I think that one takes...
Yeah, they're certainly getting sprayed with it. Oh, jeez.
Of course. No, I worked in a famous retailer there on Georgia Street. And luckily for me, I was off this day, but an old man walked into the shop one day and the man had a bad case of diarrhea.
Right.
And in the middle of the shop floor, he let loose and it rolled down his trouser leg all over the shop floor.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Now, my boss went in and made my co-worker clean it up, and it was... Now, I wasn't in that day, but we seen the footage the next day, and it was vile. So, hats off to him for doing it. If I was in that day, it would have been me.
So, this man came into the shop and Well, God love him and all that, but...
Oh, no, of course. Yeah, no, he was very embarrassed and he was very apologetic.
I'm sure he was.
And we escorted him. He only lived around the corner as well, so one of the people escorted him home. And well, we had to be done. We had to clean up, disinfect the floor. But thank God it wasn't me. Had you not been off that day, it would have been you. Of course.
Oh, the thoughts.
My boss has this thing. He didn't like me, so he always made me do the shit work, quite literally.
Fair enough. Thank you, Reese. When I started my apprenticeship as a butcher, I was asked to go to another shop to get the long wait. Little did I know, a long wait was waiting ages in the range. Be told a few hours later, my long wait is over. That's nasty. Darren, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Darren?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Darren, you worked for a meat company. Don't mention the meat company, but
no,
go on.
I won't, no. I'll put you right off everything. But we used to get the turns, bacon, like rashers especially, because they thought you wouldn't have the smell because of salt, and you'd have to smell them if they're off. You throw them out. If they don't smell too bad, you just rewrap them and send them off.
So your job was just to smell the rashers to see if they were off?
Yeah.
And this was obviously best before dates and all that, was it?
You just rewrap them and then you just put another use by on them. But especially bacon, any meat like a collar of bacon, I don't know whether you know, like, you know, if you have a little bacon and cabbage.
Yes.
That type of stuff.
You'd open the packaging.
Smell them, yeah.
Smell it. If it smelled all right, you stick a new best before date.
Just a new rewrapper and then just stick a new sticker on it. And off it goes again, yeah.
Now, fortunately, I haven't let you name the company because does that sort of thing still go on?
I wouldn't imagine so, no.
God, I hope not. How long?
Back in the day, but the same thing. Sometimes you just if it looks rank, you throw it out. But sometimes you just wouldn't smell it. You just let it go because the smell will just get you all the time.
Oh, that's.
But there'll be about 4 or 5 of us on the line, and there'll be loads of them because it's a big supermarket chain, and I won't mention it. But
right. And right, but we assume this doesn't happen anymore.
I'd imagine it doesn't. I don't know what factory settings are like now, but in them days, stuff used to just come back in big buckets. Like
how long ago were we talking?
We're probably going back 25 years.
Oh,
maybe.
right, okay, yeah.
I'd imagine they've cleaned up their act.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'd like to think we've cleaned up our act since then. All right, come on, Darren, thank you. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. We're asking you, what was the worst task an employer, past or present, ever made you do? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Mark, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Mark?
Oh, sorry, lad, sorry.
Mark, this is going to turn my stomach as well, is it?
Just about, yeah.
Go on.
About 25 years ago, I was serving as a butcher apprentice as well, on Camden Street, and they're famous butchers. They used to have a slaughterhouse out the back.
Right.
And they used to make their own white and black pudding, and my job was when the cows were slaughtered, get the warm blood into a milk churn and store it with my arm to make sure it was nice and
You to collect the warm blood of a dying cow into a churn and then stir it with your arm.
Yeah.
Oh my!
There was no poles or anything to store it, so it's just get your arm in there and just store it.
Oh my God, I don't know which is worse now. I don't know if that's worse than the airport lads, but oh my God almighty.
I was grand on cold mornings. Your arms were pretty warm.
Oh. And what was the blood then used for black pudding or something?
Black pudding, yeah, black pudding. Then when it was ready to go, you just pour it onto all the meat and then mix it all around and then made it the way they make sausages into the skins and all that.
Lovely. You just made me become a vegetarian. Thanks.
No worries.
Did it turn you off eating it?
No, I always loved the black pudding.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Knowing that somebody's arm might have been stirring the blood.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mark.
That was my arm.
Thank you, Mark. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
I worked in a big retailer when I was 17. One day over the Christmas, a child went into our changing rooms. The child came out saying, "Mammy, Mammy, Mammy, I'm finished." The child had done its business in the changing room. I was made clean it up. During the clean, I puked. So then someone had to clean up the poo and my vomit. Lovely. Sorry if that. I did warn you not to let it put you off your lunch or your breakfast or whatever. I didn't. Anyway, I don't feel. Sorry, somebody just texted in. Black pudding is the food of gods. No, you are wrong. You are wrong. Anyway, after the break, I want to talk to you about something that rarely gets discussed on the show, or anywhere actually. Yet there are thousands of people listening to the show right now who are going through this. It has literally taken over their life. Insomnia. Where you go to bed at a normal time at night and you just can't sleep. It's not just a once-off, it happens regularly. It literally consumes your entire life. The sleep disorder it affects 16% of the Irish population, and it's on the rise. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Do you suffer or have you ever suffered from insomnia? And how do you cope with it? Now, insomnia isn't missing one night's sleep. That's happened to all of us. That's not what it is. It is consistent over and over and over again. Call me right now on 6797 981. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Thursday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. The funeral of the youngest victim of the Donegal crash has heard how the men were snatched from their communities in the prime of their lives. Hundreds of people have come out to say their final goodbye to 22-year-old Sean Harkin. The funerals of his three friends, Micheál Rorty, John Harley and Daniel Scott, will also take place today. The family of the woman killed on the M50 last week have appealed for people to stop and think after images from the crash were shared online. In a statement, Jacqueline Griffin's family say she was a beautiful person and sharing such images is immoral. They say the past week has been difficult enough without what has come to their attention. Health officials have said the cost of the new National Children's Hospital is in line with international practice. They've been appearing before politicians to explain how the cost has more than doubled to €1.7 billion. And Irish Water are working to repair a burst water main on Anglesey Road. Supply in the Dublin 2 and surrounding areas may be affected as a result. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Thursday morning, good morning to you. I hope everything is good in your world. It mightn't be great in your world, though, if you are a sufferer of insomnia. And it's something we've never actually spoken on the programme before about the effects that it has on people. Insomnia is where you have chronic sleeping issues. We're not talking about the odd hour here or there where you're tossing and turning at night. We're talking about constant lack of sleep. The average person falls asleep within 7 minutes and stays asleep for 8 hours. Those who have no difficulty sleeping often take this non-interrupted shut-eye for granted. But those who suffer from insomnia struggle for every hour of sleep that they get. It's a disorder that affects around 15% of the Irish population, and according to experts, it's on the rise. In an international survey carried out by Aviva Health Insurance last year, 35% of Irish adults said they do not believe they are getting the right amount of sleep. However, 16% have the condition known as insomnia. One person who has spoken out about living with insomnia is the meteorologist from Met Éireann, Joanna Donnelly. She presents the weather on television quite regularly. And she was featured as part of a documentary on RT television last year about insomnia. Here's just a little bit of what Joanna had to say.
When you have insomnia and it starts to cause cracks in your normal routines, like the excessive exhaustion, that can affect your work, can affect your relationships. You're snapping at your husband, you're snapping at your children. Insomnia isn't just, I just can't sleep. Insomnia is a debilitating condition that can go on for days and leave you just out. You just can't function. I can't eat, I can't exercise, I can't think straight, it's a different condition.
Now, there you go. That was Joanna Donnelly speaking on that documentary on RTE last year. 16% of people listening to this show right now have the condition insomnia. And I'd like to hear from you if you live with it and how it has taken over your life. And do the people in your life understand how bad it actually is? Is insomnia taken seriously? Because a lot of people, when they hear insomnia, oh yeah, you didn't get a good night's sleep, get over it, you'll be grand tomorrow. Are you somebody who goes through this? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. Dan Smith is Director at Sleep Disorder Support Foundation. Dan, welcome to 98 FM.
Thanks very much for having me.
Dan, I'm shocked actually to read that 16% of people live with insomnia. Can you define insomnia for me?
Right. Insomnia, the technical definition is an inability to sleep, to get asleep, or an inability to stay asleep, or a combination of both of them. That's kind of the shortened version of the whole thing.
Right, okay.
So just to put it in, could I put it in perspective maybe first, in that how important sleep actually is to us. Without sleep, we really, as that last piece, you cease to function. But can I just say that sleep deprivation is actually a form of torture and is recognised as such. So where you go to, say, God forbid, Guantanamo Bay or whatever, the first thing that will happen to you is they will deprive you of sleep for about 36 hours. At that stage, you're pretty much willing to do anything because you are absolutely all over the place. So the importance of sleep is always, and I say this kind of a bit of knowledge, is always understated. Sleep is so important to us, but because of lifestyle changes and everything, we're not getting enough quality sleep. And I use the word quality because quality is so much more important than quantity. And sleep is a very structured process. So once that structure is affected by anything, such as insomnia, we fail to get the benefits of quality sleep. So we suffer from various things, such as irritability, which is a huge one. Our cognitive function starts to go on the wane. And we become a danger. In fact, in areas like driving and things like that, we become a great danger on the road because we're quite likely to fall asleep. So I can't overstate just how much the importance must be taken on sleep. So insomnia is probably one of the most common sleep disorders, and use a figure of 16%. I believe that's probably 16% of people who are actually diagnosed with it. It is said through some of the major studies, which are done every 2 years in America, that up to 60% of people will admit to having insomnia at some stage or another. There is a type of insomnia.
But sorry to cut across you, Dan, but you know, I for example, maybe 2 weeks ago had a sleepless night. I was tossing and turning all night, had really restless sleep. That's not insomnia, is it? Because it was a one-off.
It's actually called transient insomnia, and it's one where it lasts for a night or two. But it is technically insomnia because it does have an adverse effect on you.
Right, okay.
So taking all of those types of things, there's actually about 4 different types of insomnia, ranging from insomnia can be brought on by stress. It can be brought on by medication. A lot of people don't realise this, but even simple medication, say for colds and allergies, high blood pressure, heart disease, any antipsychotics, stuff like that, they do have an adverse effect on your sleep. Now, it affects different people in different ways, but it can be responsible too for insomnia. So
if somebody is living with insomnia, is it a case that you can find a cure? You can find out what's making them not able to sleep? Or is there always something behind it?
Not necessarily. But the first thing, I call it a box-ticking exercise. You've got to go through the steps. Are you, for example, as I say, sleep is very structured. Small things can set you off. Like, let's just say you watch television in the bedroom. Television can leave you very adverse to sleep. A bedroom should be cool, dark, and should be just literally for what we call the 3 S's: sleep, sex, and sickness. That's what a bedroom is for. Once you bring other things into it, it affects your ability to fall asleep. So that's called part of what they call sleep hygiene, which is actually getting yourself ready for bed.
Okay, so having the television on in the bedroom
not a good idea.
Is not a good idea. Okay, that's something I'll have to knock on the head because I'm one of those people.
Leave the iPad out of the bedroom. Leave the phone out of the bedroom. Anything, electronic device and that. You've got to get yourself ready for sleep. So you kind of at a wind down type of activity. Another thing is, if you find that you can't fall asleep within, say, 10, 15 minutes, there's no point in counting sheep and trying to go like that. You're better off get up out of the bed, go make a cup of tea, read a book, and when you're tired, go back to bed. You're more likely to fall asleep.
Okay, so rather than staying in the bed, and this is actually what I tend to do if I'm having a sleepless night, I stay in the bed and then, start getting angry with myself and frustrated and everything else. If I can't go to sleep, I know I have to get up for work in the morning, and it becomes a vicious cycle then, doesn't it?
It does indeed, Jack. So, I mean, there's an internationally accepted kind of 10 healthy sleep tips, and one is a regular bedtime, regular wake-up time. A relaxing routine, getting you to bed, soothing music, that type of thing. A sleep-conducive environment. It's dark, quiet, and comfortable and cool, and you associate the bedroom with sleep. There's the thing a lot of people don't go for and don't realise. You need a fairly comfortable mattress and a pillow. Because, I mean, if you've got an old lumpy mattress, it's unlikely you're going to fall asleep. Again, going back to the S's, the 3 S's for a bedroom, and then finish eating 2 to 3 hours before regular bedtime. Because if you're eating stodgy food and stuff like that before you go to bed, say a nice Indian curry or something like that, it's not going to help you sleep. Regular exercise, but not before you go to bed. You should have a wind-down period of about 2 to 3 hours. Usually avoid caffeine and alcohol and stuff like that as well.
Before you go to bed. Okay. Yeah. Now, for somebody who's listening to us right now who is living with insomnia, is there a guaranteed cure for
it? There's no guaranteed cure. Possibly the best way. Now, problem with a lot of people, I know I'm not answering your question directly, but I'm coming round to it. A lot of people go to a doctor and say, I can't sleep. So a doctor will say, I'll sort that for you, and they write you a prescription for a sleeping tablet. But that's not dealing with the problem. That's dealing with a symptom. To deal with the problem, you need to go back and find out what is causing this. So one of the most, I won't say the most popular, but one of the most effective methods of dealing with insomnia is a thing called CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. And that would normally be carried out by a sleep physiologist. Now, before getting into that, you've really got to sign up for it and go with it. In some cases, medication may be involved for a short period to kind of stabilise your sleep. And then it's through dealing with all the steps that get you to really restful sleep. You go through all those with the cognitive behavioural therapy, and it has proven very, very successful.
Okay, so you don't have to suffer alone. There is help available, and you can get over it. You can be cured.
In a lot of cases. Now, I'll give you, for example, people say with a brain injury, an acquired brain injury, say in a bath or bad road crash, anything like that.
And in fact, I'm about to go to a caller about exactly that, but just go on.
They do suffer terribly from sleep disorders, ranging from insomnia will be the top one. There's a number of other various types of sleep disorders that they do suffer from as well too, and it is an area that is being looked at and trying to come up with sleep programs to suit people like that.
Okay, so there are cures. It is available, but again, for somebody who is dealing with insomnia, they know how badly they feel when they're not sleeping properly. But it can be quite serious in terms of the physical effects it can have on your health.
Yeah. You see, sleep itself, what happens when you sleep? Believe it or not, when you sleep and you get into the really deep sleep and stage 3 of non-rapid eye movement sleep, there's a total body detox carried out. Tissue is repaired. Muscles are repaired that are damaged. And your body actually fixes itself up while you sleep, if you sleep properly. It's all within the whole thing. Once that's disrupted, everything else goes pear-shaped because you don't get sufficient sleep in the right areas. It's so structured. And what happens then is things that normally happen for somebody having good sleep don't happen for you. So you have kick-on effects such as, for example, irritability, a feeling of helplessness, an inability to concentrate, fighting with your workmates, generally being a pain in the neck. And it's all through the sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is absolutely terrible. And it is a terrible affliction on anybody.
All right, well, we merely mentioned this conversation coming up, and we have a lot of people getting in contact with us. For people who are living with this, who should they talk to, Dan?
Well, number one, your first port of call really is your GP. Now, what I would recommend to people is to complete, and I'm going to follow this on with where to get one, is to complete a sleep diary first. Now, we have one available on our website at sdsf.ie, and it's just a rough thing. But it's basically you fill out some of it before you go to bed, some of it the following morning. But if you fill that over 7 to 14 days and you hand it to your doctor, at least your doctor's going to take you seriously that you do have a sleep problem. That can be passed on to a sleep consultant who can actually highlight where your problems are. Now, it is quite subjective, but it gives them a great start on how to deal with what's ailing you. So that would be the first port of call, because as I say, you walk into a GP, I can't sleep.
Yes.
He'll give you a sleeping tablet. It's a win-win situation. He believes that he has cured you, he or she has cured you, and you think, oh, I'm getting somebody who's going to sort out my sleep. But it's not actually on a long-term basis going to deal with your problem.
Okay, so you might think that, taking a tablet is going to sort it out, but it's not. You need to deal with the actual fundamental problem.
Yeah, on a short-term basis, it will help. There's no doubt about it. But there is a lot of reports of people who take sleeping tablets. They wake up feeling quite groggy and, they don't feel it's natural sleep that they're getting.
Okay, sdf.ie, download one of the sleep planners and then go to your doctor when you've already done that, and you say, look, doctor, this is how much I've slept in the last week, for example.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Dan Smith is the director at sdf.ie, Sleep Disorder Support Foundation. Dan, thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98FM.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797981. Text or WhatsApp 087 798 98 98. If this is something that you live with, how do you cope? Because it sounds like a nightmare. And like I said, the odd night I would have a sleepless night, but more often than not, thank God, and touch wood and all that, I sleep fairly well. I'm not great when I have a short night's sleep. For example, last Sunday night I didn't get to bed till late, and I wasn't in the best of form on Monday, but that's a rarity rather than a norm. Peter, you're on 98FM. How are you, Peter?
How's it going, Adrian?
Good, thank you, Peter. You were diagnosed at the age of 18 as suffering from insomnia.
Yeah, what was happening was I wasn't sleeping at night, and during the day I'd be just nodding off in the middle of school and stuff like that. So basically they brought me to the doctor, and for about 8 years on sleeping tablets, taking one every night, and then after a year or two a night. And then what was happening was you just actually stay awake while you have sleeping tablets. You actually get out of your head, like you taking drugs, like street drugs. So then when it was about 27, 28, one of the lads says, we're going to Amsterdam, do you want to come? I was like, oh yeah, I'll go. Smoked weed for the first time in my life and had the best sleep in my life. And ever since then, I smoke weed every night.
Oh, right.
I have a joint, 8:30, 9 o'clock every night, and by 10:30, I'm ready for bed, and I have a proper deep sleep. Get up in the morning, have a coffee, and feel brand new. Whereas your caller was saying there, after the sleeping pills, you're getting up and you feel like you've been on the rip all night.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Because you're taking pills.
And you feel like you've got a hangover the next day.
Worse than a hang. It's like you've been taking drugs, like street drugs all night, because basically they're knocking you out, you know what I mean? You're not actually getting proper sleep. It's a drug-induced sleep. Whereas with the cannabis...
Well, that's what I was about to say. Your way of sleeping is a drug-induced sleep as well, is it not?
It's a drug... It is, but it's not not doing half the damage or half the side effects that sleeping pills have. Like, you can sell your sleeping pills on the street to junkies because they buy them. Do you know what I mean? But, like, I smoke a bit of pot every night, and I'm not even going to lie, it's great. I don't have any side. Like, one night on the sleeping pills, I woke up, thought I was a pirate, and almost attacked me missus because she took me treasure.
Wow, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good news.
You know what I mean?
So, having a joint before you go to bed has literally solved your insomnia, has it?
Yeah, I'm more productive in work. I come home from work, play with the kids, go to the park, do all the usual things, have me joint when the kids are gone to bed, and I'm brand new. Whereas beforehand, you're just moaning at everything, because it's hard. You know what I mean? It's like when you see an infant or your toddler running around and they're knackered tired. What do they do? Scream and cry and bitch, because it's hard. It's the same with you. You're tired. And it's literally torture.
And like you said, for you that worked, and continues to work, having a spliff at night time.
I'm now nearly 45, so I've been walking for 7-8 years now.
And you're sleeping perfectly?
Sleeping perfect, not like the sleeping pills where I have to up the dose because my tolerance is building up to it.
All right, fascinating, Peter. And health-wise, you obviously feel much better now that you're actually sleeping properly.
I don't smoke cigarettes or that anymore because I look forward to the joint every night. The missus said to me, you can continue to smoke or you can have a toke. And I went, well, I'll give the cigarettes up. And
that was the end of that?
That was the end of that as well, so I feel even better because I'm off the cigarettes as well.
All right, good to talk to you, Peter. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Rachel, Elaine, I'm going to talk to you after the break. You had a major incident in your life that led to you developing insomnia.
Yes.
Okay, I'll find out about that in just a moment.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala.
98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until 12 o'clock. Now we're in the middle of a conversation about something that at least 16% of the population suffer from, and that is insomnia. And insomnia can be brought on by various different things, by stress and by just major events in our lives. And Elaine, welcome to 98FM.
Hiya, thanks.
Elaine, you developed insomnia for a reason I'm sure a lot of people could understand how you would develop insomnia. After your son Darren took his life about 7 years ago.
Yeah, 6.5 years ago, he's gone. I think the first year I was just kind of in denial, and then I took to alcohol, and that wasn't doing me any good, so I went to the doctor, and the doctor put me on tablets. But still, even with the tablets, there's nights where I'm up until 5 o'clock in the morning and I'll get maybe an hour's sleep and then I'm up for the rest of the day.
So, just to remind our listeners, the case of Darren was a very high-profile case in that you believe that he was cyber-bullied to death, essentially, and not dissimilar to the case of Coco that we covered on this programme. And obviously...
The case is still going on.
Still going on to this day? Wow.
Yeah.
I hadn't realised it was still going on.
What happened was November, they got a decision from the DPP to say that they weren't going to go ahead with charges. And I had 29 days from that day to appeal it. But I wasn't told until January. So the 29 days had already passed by then.
Oh, right.
So I had to go in and ask again for an appeal. I got an answer. I had to request an appeal from the DPP, and I had to do it through the Garda superintendent in Balbriggan. So he said he never got the letter. Then I did it. DPP went again. I'd been on to the superintendent. Couldn't even tell you how many times to try and get the file. I want the whole file because I know in the file it'll prove that the guards didn't do their job.
And this is a file, with all of the text messages, all of the correspondence that was sent to your son that eventually led to him taking his own life. It was that severe, the sort of messaging he was getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, back to our conversation about, I didn't realise, Elaine, that this is still going on 6.5 years later. That's unbelievable. But anyhow, obviously, with all of this continuing to go on in your life, it's been very difficult to, you probably never will properly, but to put your life back together again after losing your son. And obviously, all of this going on has directly affected you and your sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And the lad that you were talking to before, he was saying about your mood, and it does. You're cranky, you're kind of snapping. Unintentionally, you don't mean to do it, but it's just you're exhausted.
So, say in the last week, on average, how much sleep have you been getting?
Well, I went to sleep last night, let's say about 2 o'clock this morning, and I'm up since 7:30, and that's all broken sleep.
Okay, so 2 to 7:30, 5.5 hours of broken sleep. Yeah, that's just not enough. And as you're talking to me now, do you feel tired? Do you feel lethargic?
Yeah, yeah, I'm drained. And that's, unfortunately, it's an ongoing thing where you don't have the energy to do anything. You want to get up and do everything that, go out and that type of thing. I only leave the house once a week.
And do you put all of that down to sleep and the effect that it's having on you?
Yeah, because the effect, what people don't realise is if you don't get enough sleep, you can't function properly. So it affects so many different areas of your life that the lack of sleep does.
And it becomes a vicious circle then?
Yeah, very vicious.
All right, I'm really sorry to hear that that's still going on, Elaine. I'm shocked to hear that that's still going on, and I hope you get answers sooner rather than later, because it's in the interest of your own health to get answers sooner rather than later. Yeah,
well, I also feel that if it wasn't going on this long, if they'd have done something about it before, we might not have cases like poor Coco and the hormone. You know, the laws should have been brought in years ago, but they're too busy worried about nonsense. You know, things that don't affect people nowadays. Like insomnia would be let's say a form of a mental health, and it can lead to other mental health issues because you're that exhausted, you can't function properly, your mind is completely, you can't think straight. So it's a really vicious circle. But there's not enough, like when people say mental health, they think, depression, anxiety, that type of thing. There's no mental health experts out there that are going to help people with insomnia other than throwing tablets at them.
Well, I would recommend to you, Elaine, that you look at the website from that we were talking about a little bit earlier on, sdsf.ie, sdsf.ie. I think it's well worth looking at and seeing what help that they can offer you. I wish you well, Elaine, and I appreciate you talking to us. Rachel, you're on 98FM. How are you, Rachel?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
How long have you been living with insomnia?
Years. Now, I was never diagnosed with having it, but my average sleep since I'd say I was the age of 13 is 5 hours a night, if even. I just don't sleep well at all, and it's actually, I think it's in my family because my dad actually, he only gets about 5 hours a night as well, but he seems to be able to function on that, but I can't. So as a result, I never wake up in the morning, and I'm never like, I feel great, I've had a good night's sleep. I don't know what that feels like.
So what is the hardest part? Is it getting asleep or is it staying asleep?
Both. I actually work in the health sector. I'm a nurse, so it's a high pressure job as well. And then, you know, long days. I used to do nights, but not anymore now. But like a long day, like 12 hours, and you come home and you're just kind of reliving through everything that went on in your head. And then you're like thinking, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow? And then you're looking at the clock, like I'll try and go to bed about 10:30 or so. Like good intentions, and, you know, I'll leave the window open and I'll have the room cold and I'll have a shower. That actually helps me unwind. But I'll just be lying there thinking about everything. And then, like, I know I shouldn't, but I'll have the phone by my bed. And then if I'm kind of still lying there, I'll be like, oh, I must be awake an hour. I'll check the phone. It's 11:30. I'm like, oh, God, I'm up in like 6.5 hours. And then I keep checking the phone.
And then that starts getting into your head, and you know you need sleep, and it becomes, like I said already, a vicious circle.
It does. And I actually get really anxious over it. And, like, you know, like I'm living with my boyfriend as well, and, like, he has a habit. Sometimes he'll snore, and I'm such a light sleeper. And if he's snoring kind of when it goes on to under 12 or something, I'm so anxious at that stage. I'm like, oh, I can't sleep now. Or I wake up, or there's a noise outside, and I'm like, I can't go back to sleep. But I'm never in a deep sleep. I'm a very, very light sleeper. Even if it rains heavily,
you can obviously you can feel the effects it's having on your health.
Oh yeah, completely. Like,
and in terms of doing anything about it, what have you done about it?
So, like, I actually went to see a counsellor recently enough, about a year or two ago. Just I had other things going on in my personal life, and I told her about the lack of sleep. She was like, you know, it does sound to me like you've got serious sleep problems. And I said, yeah, I do. But I didn't want to go down the line of taking sleeping tablets. Like, I've taken them before, but like everyone else was saying that was being interviewed there. Like, you don't get a proper sleep. You're not rested. You wake up, you feel hungover, your mouth is dry, your eyes are dried out. You're just like, oh, I feel like I didn't have a sleep. So, I mean, you know, if I really needed to take a sleeping tablet, which I don't like taking, I take one. But I try and use natural remedies. And I used to kind of think, oh, natural remedies are a load of, you know, crap. I don't believe in them. But I take the dormicin, which is valerian root extract. You can get it in dropper form in the health shops. And I do find it tastes vile. But I do find that
it does help.
Something. It does try and help me. And sleep meditation is great.
Now, you as a nurse, you've been the focus of attention all week with the strike and everything else. It's a pressurised job at the best of times. I don't know how you do it if you haven't had sleep. I really don't. I don't know how you do it anyhow, but I don't know how you do it if you're operating on 4 or 5 hours sleep. It must be very, very difficult.
It is really difficult.
Again, Rachel, I would recommend that you check out that website we mentioned earlier on, which is sdsf.ie, and see what help they can give to you. And let me just bring in one last call. And this is something that was mentioned earlier on. And Richard, you developed insomnia after a concussion years ago.
I did. My daughter fractured my skull with a golf club.
Oh, lovely.
An accident, I hasten to add. I wasn't arguing over homework or something with. I had a fractured skull, and about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, I just suddenly had a week where I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't sleepy. I was wide awake. I was just purely awake. I couldn't rest. I couldn't lie in the bed. And the trouble is, the first day, I don't mean to make light of it, but the first night I was kind of okay with it. This is cool. The house is nice and quiet. I sat and did some paperwork, and it was good. But day 2, day 3, day 4, you just become so exhausted that you can't function. I mean, and come day 5 or 6, you eventually, I wouldn't say you sleep. I think you pass out. You physically can't go any further.
And has it been dealt with? Are you cured, for want of a better word?
No. I never. It passed after the first episode. It lasted about 7 or 8 days, and then it went away. It didn't come back. It comes back now maybe every couple of months. I might get 2 or 3 nights straight where I'm just wide awake, and I've just learned. I just rearranged my diary and kind of live with it. Really, I'm lucky in that way. But at the time when it happened, I was a police officer, and I had to do high-speed driving and firearms work, and it was really affecting my job because I would be unable to function properly days, weeks after I'd had these episodes. And if you say to your boss, I'm not sleeping well, that's why I'm not performing, it's not a really. I don't think people take it as a real illness.
And by all accounts, and like I said, I'm very grateful that I don't suffer from it, but I do know the effect of having a really bad night's sleep or very few hours sleep has on me for just one day. I can only imagine what it's like when it's a continual thing.
Yeah, it really is a serious problem, and I cope with it just by accepting it now. I don't seek treatment, and obviously being a policeman, I can't go down the cannabis route. So it is what it is. I just accept it now, and when it comes, I
just deal with it.
Get on with my day. Yeah, but I know that I'm lucky. There's people that suffer this a lot worse than me. But mine only came about after the fractured skull, so I know that there's definitely a brain trauma kind of element to it. But it is an issue that's it's treated very lightly, and GPs have a kind of proclivity to want to just give you drugs for it. It's really not.
That's not the answer. No. But again, sdsf.ie is the website from the conversation earlier on. I would advise anybody who's living with a sleep disorder like insomnia to check out that website, and it may be able to point you in the right direction to get it sorted, because it is, as Richard said, it's not taken seriously enough. You say to your boss, I'm very tired today. He's not going to be impressed. His answer will be, well, get a better night's sleep. Anyway, thank you very much, Lee, for your calls. Thank you, Richard. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. We're with you until midday today. Now, on the way after the break, I want you to text an answer to this question for me. How long should a newborn baby remain in the bedroom with Mammy and Daddy? Is it like 1 month? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? Or is it never? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. The reason we are discussing this is a message that we got from one of our listeners. My baby is 9 months old and has never slept in her own room, only ours. As a new mother and all kinds of worries, I don't feel right until at least after the age of 1. She does have her own crib in our room, by the way, but this is causing problems with me and my husband regarding our love life. Sometimes we have sex at night time once she's asleep. We stay covered and all lights off and completely silent, but my husband has a big problem with this. Anyway, the question is, how long should a baby stay in the room with Mammy and Daddy, be it in their cot or whatever, or should they always be in their own room? Text or WhatsApp your answer to that question to 0877 98 98 98.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98FM.
Good morning, this is Adrian, and this message from one of our listeners I'd love to get your opinions on. Lads, my baby is 9 months old and has never slept in her own room, only ours. As a new mother with all kinds of worries, I don't feel right until she's after 1 year old. She does have her own crib in our room, by the way, but this is causing problems with me and my husband regarding our love life. Sometimes we have sex at night time once she is asleep. We stay covered and all the lights off and completely silent. But my husband has a big problem with this and doesn't feel comfortable doing it. He's worried that one night she might wake up and see more than she should. What should I do without stopping our sex time? He hates doing it and it's really affecting our relationship. He says he feels wrong doing it while our baby is nearby. Have you any advice? And it raises the question about how long a baby should stay in the room with Mammy and Daddy. And I want you to text or WhatsApp your answer to that question, be it 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, or never. Because there are many parents who never have the baby in the room with them. Whatever your opinion, text it to me right now by text or WhatsApp to 0877 98 98 98. This lady has a very strong opinion on it.
Hi, Adrian. I would say up to a year. Well, that's what I did with my 3 anyway, because I used to just worry about them when they were asleep and make sure I often woke up and just kind of touched their cheek to make sure they were still breathing and all, because there was that terrible scare of sudden cot death, you know, young babies. There was a lot going on after and Diamond, so I always worried about them. So it was a year before I moved them out of the bedroom, and probably still feel the same. I think up to a year is good. But everybody has a different way of doing things, each to their own. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd love to hear from you. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. What age do you think is an okay age for a child to be moved out of Mammy and Daddy's room? Or maybe you think they should never be in Mammy and Daddy's room. Call me right now, 6797 981. Alana, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Alana.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Alana. Have you any thoughts on this? What is the right age?
I don't know. I think it's to the parents. My children are 4 and, well, he's nearly 4 and nearly 2. And they've just gone into their own bedroom now, but together.
4 and 2?
Yeah.
So hang on, your 4-year-old has been in your room with you ever since he was born?
Day one, yeah, in the bed. Never in a cot.
Right. That must have been very traumatic then, moving him out.
No, not really. I kind of wanted to wait until the little one was a bit older, so then the two of them could go in together. So they just sleep together in 2 single beds, pushed together.
And
now I generally sleep in the middle of the two of them.
Oh, so you've just moved into the other room then?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people think that it is that children need to be able to get their own sleep and need to be able to sleep independently. What would you say to that?
I don't know. They're not going to want to sleep with you forever, the way I think about it. And I know, like, as a mammy, we don't get a lot of sleep anyway, so I suppose it is nice to have you and your partner in the bed, but when they're 18, they're not going to want to sleep with you. So
no, most likely not.
Enjoy the moments. And
Right.
as well, for me, it was always easier because I nursed the 4-year-old, and now the 2-year-old is still being nursed. So they obviously wake up in the night to be nursed. So it's always been easier for me to have them in the bed.
So did you say you're still nursing a 2-year-old?
Yeah. Well, she's nearly 2.
Okay. When do you plan to stop that?
Well, in the next couple of months, I suppose, when she gets fed up with it. And then I know once then I take her off, she'll sleep throughout the night. That's what generally happens. Well, that's what happened with the first one.
Right. I'm wondering, as I'm talking to you, Alana, is the need to have the children with you more you than them?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. They look for me, so I suppose they like me just as much as I like them.
Fair enough. All right, stay there for a second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. How long is long enough to have your baby in the room with Mammy and Daddy? Or is there a cut-off point? Maybe you still have your child sleeping in the same room as you years later. Or maybe you're somebody who believes that the child should never be in the room with you. Just shouldn't be. Call me right now on 6797 981. Dave, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Dave?
Hey, Adrian.
What did you want to say, Dave?
About 3 months, I'd say. I have a 6.5-month-old girl now, and she's been in her own room for the last 3 months, I'd say.
Okay, so up to 3 months she was in the room with you.
Yeah, but now we had her in the Moses basket there, you know, at the side of the bed, because my wife was feeding her herself. But then once, she's kind of stopped feeding her herself, and she was sleeping through the night, we put her into her own room, and she's grand. Like she goes down to bed at about 8 o'clock or 8:30, and that's her grand till 7:30 the next morning.
And what do you think of parents who keep the baby in their room for a year or 2 years or even more?
That's the parent's kind of psychological problem. That is, like, I can't believe that girl there. She says she has a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old in the same room as her. Like, sure, they'd be looking for their own room at that stage. Like I've 3 kids. So I've an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and it's the same with the 2 boys. They were 3 or 4 months, and then they were out into their own room.
Okay, so there is a time that it has to stop, and you think once they're sleeping a full night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a monitor now, and she's on camera, and you can hear her and stuff, and you can see her as well.
Yeah.
But you can turn up the monitor so you can hear her kind of mooching around at night time as well. So I mean, yeah, they need their own room. Like, you know, I wouldn't be. Like, I could count on one hand, no messing, my two boys, like, the 8-year-old and 5-year-old, I count on one hand the amount of times that they've actually slept in the bed, and literally it was just because they were really, really sick that they're in their own room. That's the way it is. Bedtime is bedtime, you know that way.
All right, stay there for 1 second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice message like this caller did.
We put our little girl in about 6 weeks. We had got a really good monitor. You could literally hear her breathing through the monitor. And that wasn't a bother on her.
There you go. Wasn't a bother on her after a couple of weeks. It is something, well, as you've heard from the message that we got, it is directly affecting the lives of this particular couple. Baby is still there 9 months later, and it is having a direct effect on their physical relationship. At least that's what the lady who sent us the message says. Her husband is not happy with the physical side of their relationship while the baby is in the room. And we're asking when is too long to have the baby still in your room. Here's a message. Talk about length of time. My answer is 7 years. My one and only. He's an IVF baby, and I'll never have that again. He finds it secure, so be it. 7 years. Now, I do understand how special it must be to have had a baby through IVF and everything else. But what do you make it 7 years, Dave?
Oh, that's ridiculous. Like, he's not going to fall apart just because he's an IVF baby. Like, he's the same as every other baby.
Yeah.
You know?
I would have thought so. I know they might have been trying for years and all of that, but the baby came along, and the baby is no longer a baby. The baby is 7.
Yeah, exactly. He's to be able to talk to you and all now.
Yeah, that's mad. Okay, stay there for a second. Our little girl is 3.5. She still sleeps in our bed. It's a nightmare. She refuses to sleep in her own. When we lift her into bed after she falls asleep at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., she makes her way back into our room every night, disrupting our sleep. It's always been an issue, and to get a good night's sleep, we accept it. In other words, it's easier to just let her get back in and for you to go back asleep. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Here's another message here. I have 4 kids under 6. And every one of them have been different and at different times moving from our room. I feel each child is different and enjoy them as babies because they get too big too quick. I think it definitely depends on the child and the parent. The child is 9 months old, says this message, referring back to the original message that we got. She's not going to notice them having... My 2 kids, the first one was about 9 months and my second was about 4 months old when we moved them out of the room. And my 3 kids were all in my room until they turned 3 months and then into their own room. They slept through the night from then on as they didn't have to listen to us snoring. There you go. All right, it appears that there is no right time, although an awful lot of people definitely have the child out before the child is 6 months old, I think is kind of the average, what I'm looking at. 6 months max. Myself and my wife got a monitor that doubles as a camera, so that goes into my 1-year-old's bedroom when he is sleeping. We can see him and listen to him, so that gives us enough peace of mind. No need for your baby to be in your bedroom past 6 months. There you go. All right, thank you very much indeed for all of your calls, comments, texts and opinions. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. We're back again with you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And by the way, if there's anything you want to bring up on the programme tomorrow, you can send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com. dublintalks@98fm.com. You can send us a private message through our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. Facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. We're back again, as I said, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Have a great Thursday. Barry Dunn is on the way in the next hour. He's got some great music lined up, like these.
Got that power over me. My mind.
98FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala.
98FM.